How's everybody doing? Update time on the Cummins again. Well, I was gonna do a little bit different approach to this video, but it turned out the issue I was going to address today, well, one of them, turned out to not be the case. One unfortunately, one fortunately. Got a problem that I guess is somewhat typical of some of these older Dodge trucks. Not just the 2500 Cummins, any of these older ones. When it's running, I got the engine off obviously for a moment because it's going to get noisy. The voltmeter, when I'm idling, kind of pulses back and forth. At idle, it goes away at higher speed. Talking to a guy I work with, and he said that's usually the voltage regulator, which on these older trucks is actually not part of the alternator. It is a separate piece that's mounted right to the back of the firewall, which is actually in a pretty easy spot to change. It's not that big of a pain in the butt, and because I got a sweet inside deal with a part supplier, I can actually get it for pretty affordable. Unfortunately, it turned out to not be my problem, and I'm not much of an electrician, so until I reconvene tomorrow, the only other thing I could think of it could possibly be maybe is the alternator starting to go, or it's just this, 70s vintage wiring and fusible links that they put into these older Ram trucks, which is why a lot of people, when they buy a first-gen Cummins, one of the first things they do if they're doing a total restoration is they just shit-can the entire wiring and have somebody that's competent rewire the truck. It's actually pretty simple if you're an electrician. I, unfortunately, am not. So I'm going to go ahead and start it real quick, and I will show you what it's doing. So once she starts idling, you see that little flicker? It wasn't doing that before. It would stay pretty solid. I give it a little bit of throttle, and while it appears to go away, it still doesn't. All right, so I'm going to climb out here. And I'm going to come around. I actually did a video prior to making this one of how to change one of these out, and it would have been like a 1-minute video. On most of your vehicles, your voltage regulator is part of the alternator. Now, again, I'm not an electrician. I have no idea what the hell that black thing is there, but it is not the voltage regulator. On this particular vehicle, it actually sits right there. It is super simple to get to. It is very simple to replace. It may or may not be 10 mil bolts right there, but that's what I used. That was a little sloppy, but those aren't very tight. Those screws just go through the sheet metal right here. And that little wire gets disconnected right there. Anytime, of course, word of caution, anytime you're doing anything electrical on a vehicle, it's always a good idea to disconnect your battery. Super simple. I just disconnected my negative right there, and I was able to change that out in about 2 minutes. It took me longer to figure out what socket I needed for that guy than it did for me to actually do the job. Unfortunately, as you can see, it didn't fix the problem. So I'm wondering if my alternator is starting to go, but then again, this truck is it's an 89, actually, excuse me, it's a 91, but you get the idea. It's old, and come over here and I'll show you. My Christmas tree wiring for my lights is still there. I know in a previous video I said I was gonna, make that a little neater, but you know what? The damn thing works, so I'm not gonna mess with it till it doesn't work. Somewhere down in this rat nest of freaking wiring that Dodge puts together, there's fusible links, there's whatever the hell you call that, and just a plethora of other garbage, and I haven't had any problems, so I've just decided to leave it alone. And I mean, the whole wiring harness, goes around and over to there, goes a couple more places. But the thing I like about these old mechanical 12 valves is really with 2 wires, the damn thing will run. You just need, a positive and a negative ground for your battery, because once she's running, she's running. and you can actually disconnect that fuel cutoff solenoid right there, so once she's running, she stays running, you know, until it runs out of oil, fuel, or both. Hopefully neither. Anywho, the other thing I was going to show in this video is a couple videos back, again, I mentioned I was getting some squeaking and creaking, thought it was my carrier bearing was starting to go. Turned out not to be the case, and I will show you what it was. Stand by just 1 second. The problem actually turned out to be a U-joint. Specifically this U-joint, which was the one that was on the drive shaft right before the rear differential. So it was the rearmost. There's 3 on this truck. There's one right on the back of the transmission, right on the back of the tail housing. This is a split drive shaft vehicle, which is a pain in the ass. But excuse me, that's the way it is. And that one, by the time I ended up getting around to having to replace it, it was so sloppy that there was almost a 1/4 of an inch of play in all directions. I could push it up, down, I could manually move. I mean, it was literally about to break, and I was actually afraid it would break and take out the yoke or damage the drive shaft. And I mean, I'm sure I could find one, but I mean, who the hell is going to have a split drive shaft for one of these things? This is a regular cab long box. I'm sure they don't grow on frickin' trees. It's not like I can call up the local Dodge dealer and be like, oh yeah, I got a first gen frickin' Ram 2500, and I just biffed my frickin' drive shaft like a dumbass because I let a U-joint fail. I'd like to go come on in this afternoon and pick one up. Like a lot of shit I need for this truck, they're going to say, sorry man, you know, we quit making that about 20 years ago, or stopped supplying it. So, you know, of course there's companies that make custom drive shafts, but you know what? I don't want to wait. And I sure as hell don't want to pay $900 for some custom shaft to be made. But anyways, enough of the rant. Turned out this was the problem, and this particular U-joint, like I had pointed out before, this is a aftermarket U-joint, and really, if it had gone, you know, 300 and something odd thousand miles OEM, I would be very impressed. But this is aftermarket. And the reason I can tell it's aftermarket is it's got these grease zerks in it. A lot of the original equipment, they did not have these grease points in it. And you actually, believe it or not, can buy new U-joints that do not have a serviceable grease point in it. I do not recommend getting those. Get the ones that's got the grease point on it. You know, every time you get it in for an oil change, just put your grease gun on it, give it a 2-pump chump, and call her good. Unfortunately, even though I had been doing that since I got it, apparently either something had gone wrong or the previous person that operated this vehicle had been neglecting that routine maintenance, which is evidenced by, as you can tell, I'm trying to balance this thing here so it doesn't fall in. This side here and here was getting grease. This side was not. This actually was stuck in the yoke so bad I had to get an angle grinder on it and cut the damn thing off. And it was this side was just as bad as this side once I actually punched the piece out. See if I can get it to focus. Come on, damn it. It is pretty well. It is scored. It is shot. I mean, the needle bearings look like a hand grenade went off inside of there, and because that little passage there where grease is supposed to go down and into the bearing, look at that mess. I mean, it is totally rust seized shut, and this is stiff. I took a pick to it. It is like solid. So I don't know if the guy, you know, got it through a mud hole and it got wet and it just rusted, and then, you know, grease couldn't go down to the bearings. I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. This one, again, this was the one that was on the rear, right in front of the differential. That was the one that was bad. The one that actually, because it's a split drive shaft, so I had to take that section of the drive shaft out. And if you've never done that before, there's a process to it. There's only one way they can go in. It's splined. Mark where it is, block the truck so that way the damn truck doesn't move, and then you got to finagle with it because it only goes in one way, and it's a pain in the ass to try to hold up a heavy drive shaft while somebody else moves the truck so that everything lines back up. I'm glad that I had help with a coworker to do this. And then I needed a press to press this out. And I didn't take a video of that because there's plenty of videos on YouTube on how to change out a freaking U-joint. I mean, they're pretty much the same damn thing, whether it's on a car, a truck, Toyota, Ford, and everything in between. It's the same principle. But this was the failure, and it was very, very, very bad. And I'm glad I got it out. So anyways, just wanted to update that. Turbo update. This whole set was leaking. I sprayed it off the other day with some brake clean, get it clean. And I still think that the front seal in the front of this turbo is starting to leak. Part of that might be because instead of using conventional 1540, I'm using the Mobile Delvac 1500, I believe it is. Oh well, but anyways, it's the shit that we get at work that's in bulk for diesels, and that's going in all the new diesel trucks that are taking 1540, all the new GMs. Of course, I don't put that in old blue there. She's only gotten either Dello 400, 540, or I've been using Shell Rotella T6 540 the last couple of oil changes since I took it home, and that's all she's ever going to get, plus the additives I use. Anyways, but I was able to pick up another turbo, or bargain with a friend of mine at work, and he's yet to give it to me. But anyways, and I believe it is a HX35. I'm pretty sure it's not an HX40. I got some pictures of it. Unfortunately, I don't have it with, so I can't, let you guys take a look at it. But as soon as I get my hands on the damn thing, I will do a video of it just to see what you guys think. Anyways, wanted to have a update video. This was a little bit longer than I thought because I had a little bit of a rant, and I apologize. But anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to throw them in the comment section below. I do answer every single thing that I get. There's a host of other things I do on these, but like I said, I don't want repetitive videos on YouTube. You guys got better things to do. But if you have anything specific that you want to ask me about, don't hesitate to throw it in. Future stuff I got to do is this is getting kind of shitty. I did have to replace brake lines in the rear. One of the lines blew. The line itself actually isn't bad, but this keeps piddling fluid out. I've replaced the seal underneath this, and it's still weeping it down. So, once a month or so, I just check the brake fluid levels. The routine stuff that you should do on your vehicles anyways. I mean, people who own newer vehicles, they never check fluids. You'd be amazed at how many times I've worked on vehicles that are new, late model stuff, 14s even, hell, some 15s. And people have gone way, way, way over on their mileage and not doing routine maintenance, which, I suppose is good because that makes me money when they break it and I got to fix it. But anyways, again, don't forget to like and subscribe. Questions, leave them in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.